that. It's 3 o'clock, and I want to make sure that I thank everyone for taking the time to join us. I know that the list of participants will be growing as we go, but we do have a limited time. So I want to make sure that we use it wisely. So I'm going to start and welcome you to our to LMS or not to LMS session. And we really just want to highlight how programs are using learning management systems or different tools to put some of the content online, whether it's training, resources, both kinds of ways of approaching it, and what tools are actually familiar to you, what's popular, what's not so popular, and why. So very briefly about the session today, our goal is to do quick introductions. Most of the bulk of the time will be on the presentations from our guests who will be sharing a lot of information with you. And then we'll have a Q&A and a wrap up with additional information. So, our guests for today, we have 6 participants who are presenting as we go today. So, we are going to have Althea, who is a consultant with West TO Learning Collaborative. And that is basically a group of 5 literacy programs that work together. And Althea has been a consultant helping them with an online course for their tutors. Then we also have Lee, who is a program coordinator and faculty at Fleming College. And Lee and Stephanie, who is joining us as well, they both are working with Brightspace, which is Desire to Learn program. We have Lisa MacArthur from who is a program manager at the Literacy Group in Kitchener-Waterloo. We have Randy Durning as a program manager at Almanwin Adult Learning Center. I know many of you will be actually telling us where you are located. We'll look at some maps as well, so that will be exciting. And we also have Tina, and Tina is from is LBS lead instructor at the Niagara Catholic District School Board. So as you can see from our guests, we have community programs, school boards, and colleges sharing some of the information and tips with us today. Behind the scenes, it's me, Monica, and also Tracy Mullins from AlphaPlus. And we do have Rebecca as our ASL interpreter, and there may be Kim joining us as well, will be the second interpreter for today. Now, before we start, I hope we can take a minute of time to do land acknowledgement. So we would like to begin by acknowledging the indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improve our own understanding of local indigenous peoples and their cultures. Today is also National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and we want to take a moment to honor the children who never returned home and survivors of residential schools, as well as their families and communities. This day reminds us that every child matters. Thank you for that moment. So a bit of context, and you may have seen some of that information in our descriptions of the showcase. But really, what we were noticing and seeing is the COVID-19 was a bit of a switch for many programs, where they had to really quickly shift to putting their lessons and work that they're doing with students online. And we tried different methods, different practices, different methodologies, and those processes and tools evolved during COVID and after COVID as well. But what's really interesting is to kind of go back and look at the last 5, 6 years and think about what's happening now. Where are we? What's happening with the programs? What's being used? What's not being used, and why? So that's the goal for today. It's really to take a look what the programs are. And I know there are many more programs who are using different tools and resources that we are not sharing today. We do have some guests who agreed to share with us. So we asked our guests specific questions. So during this session today, they will be sharing with us who they are and where they're from. We also asked them what tools they're using to deliver literacy training online and why that specific tool. We also asked them to show examples, so maybe a bit of demonstration, or screen captures of some of the tools that are being used. What's successful, what's working, what's not working, and then ask for advice, tools, tips that they may be willing to share with you. So the way we're going to go is we're going to basically invite each guest presenter to go through their own presentation. That gives them a chance to really kind of keep everything together in one piece. And then we'll ask some questions and move to the next guest presenter. So without further ado, we are going to start with Randy. And as you can see, I really did it in 5 minutes because I want to give everybody time to speak. So Randy, you will be going next. Just a quick introduction for you. I know you will be talking about Google Classroom, but after that, I'm going to leave it to you to introduce yourself and tell us more.
Thanks, Monica. Okay, I'm going to try and stay on time. Good luck with that. So I'm from Almaguin. Yeah, I'm not muted. Sorry. Almaguin Adult Learning Center. So we serve the Almaguin Highlands, which is basically everything between North Bay and Huntsville, running up Highway 11. It's a huge territory. We have three centers that we work out of. We're in Powassan, South River, and Berks Falls, serving 17 small communities. I've been with them for 15 years, so lots of changes back to pre OALCF and all the way through post COVID. So quite the ride.
Next slide.
Yes, please.
All right, but before we go, I'm just going to pay attention to the map on the right, because if you know where Algonquin is, where Huntsville is, then you get an idea where the programs are as well. All right, go ahead, Randy.
So we use Google Classroom. That's the LMS that I'm presenting. During COVID, we were able to, or just after COVID, we were able to get Google Workspace for free as a not-for-profit, and that opened a whole lot of doors for us. We had been doing instruction using PowerPoints and Zoom, but this gave us the opportunity to move into a more formal classroom space and start to interact with our learners there. We really like the program for a few reasons. It's really straightforward. We were able to start using it really quickly and quite easily. It can be as complicated as you want it to be, but you can roll it out really, really quickly. It's seamless. It works with our Google Workspace, the calendars, our emails, everything. It's collaborative for both our instructors. We can have more than one instructor running a classroom, and our learners get into a classroom environment where they're submitting assignments, they're getting their assignments and notes, interacting with other learners. So that's pretty powerful. It's flexible. Initially it was small class. We're using it now for one-on-one and continuous intake, and it's very adaptable. We can roll out updated versions of things. We can kind of riff or tone up or down different programs, and it's free. So as a platform that's as flexible and usable as it is, for us not to have one more subscription fee in our budget is awesome. So yeah. Next slide. It extended really naturally from what we were already doing um, through Zoom, and it just gave us lots and lots of different tools to connect with our learners, to track. One of the big things about COVID initially is we were working with people, but we had no way to capture what we were doing with them because nothing was online at that point. There weren't exercises online, there wasn't work getting done online. So this has made interacting with our learners, capturing our learners for our ministry funding requirements. It's just made all of it so much easier. So yeah. Next slide. And it gives us the opportunity to interact with our learners lots and lots of different ways. So email, written exercises within the classroom, posting different videos, we do Google slide presentations for the class, but then we do PDF versions of the slides for take home work or take home documents for our learners. We can do surveys, we can have them fill out forms, lots of different options to interact differently with our learners. And again, because we can have more than one instructor in there, we can hand things off, we can rework stuff. Quite lovely.
Perfect. Randy, if you don't mind, on the screen captures you have on the screen, I can see on the left you send emails and notifications through email, but in the middle the screen capture is actually of the feed, if I can call it like
Yeah,
that, where you actually post different information for your learners so they can see and review the documentation. And on the right, you have an outline of your course, all the activities and then tips and lists that you actually put together for the learners to access, right?
yeah, yeah.
That,
And when we're running our courses, we used to call them week one, week two. We tend to refer to them now as module one, module two, because if it's self-directed, it's not really a week. of time going on necessarily, but they tend to be module driven. So they're for each learner, there will be the PDF of the slide deck and then a series of exercises. And that's the activities within the classroom itself. And those can be launched and changed and muted at will. You can copy and revamp a course quite easily, update it if you need to. So yeah.
Perfect.
Some recommendations when we're using Google Classroom. We don't use grades. There's an option to turn the grades off. It's not, we don't need to know like an 86% of something. It's much more about lifelong progress or lifelong learning and making some progress than actually tracking marks. We have embedded and incorporated a lot of how-to documents. So how to use Zoom, how to use Google Classroom. There's so many resources out there that are pre-built, and those are always preloaded into the classroom environment right up front. And often in our introductory email, we'll send out links to those videos as well, just to try and get people more comfortable with that environment before they even sort of start the program with us. One thing we learned is schedule the class and material exercises to launch after the actual class. And that way people aren't just cherry picking the material before attending the class. That was a lesson learned. There's a lot of variety, and the more variety that the learners have to engage with keeps it more interesting. So watching videos and responding to questions, filling out forms, answering a series of questions, interacting with other learners that are in the class as well. So getting some dialogue going back and forth between learners and the instructors. We limit the number of emails. In Google Classroom, you can control to a certain extent how many kind of notification emails are going out to people. You don't want to bombard people. We work with adults, their lives are busy. The last thing they need is to be hit with, every single email for every new assignment or activity put on your classroom site. We have a learner Gmail account that we use to always test. So we log ourselves in as a learner and see, because the backdoor version is always quite different than the instructor version. And right out of the gate, one of the first lessons we learned is some courses just don't work online, like Introduction to Computers. It was so hard. We just stopped until we could meet in person with masks, because as willing as the ladies were that were in, I was trying to do that class, they wanted to, but where's the on button? There's some things that will not work in that environment, and that's okay. So.
At least some introduction to, as you said, navigation things has to happen in person for you, and then they will be able to go online.
I mean, even if you want to set up a Zoom meeting to walk through navigation, getting to the point where you can get them to get onto a Zoom meeting is its own challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just some things that aren't going to work.
Yeah. All right, Randy, your timing is perfect. Look at you. That's amazing.
Really?
I know.
Was that 10 minutes?
Not even 10 minutes. That's perfect because that gives us time for questions or comments from others. So if there's anyone who is using Google Classroom, maybe may want to add to what Randy was saying, or if anybody has questions about how is everything set up, one of the things I noticed, and thank you, Randy, for sharing and the screen captures, because they really help to kind of have a picture of how you set up things. It's really a difference realizing that you don't have to do grading. I think a lot of times when we work with programs, this is where programs get stuck on. Like, how are we going to do the back end? How are we going to manage that? Where sometimes just learning and knowing that I don't have to do grading at all, I can manage it in a different way, can make such a big difference as well. And I can see there's some comments coming in. There's a question from Ryan. Do you train learners how to use Google Classroom? Are there challenges around that?
We share, honestly, Google has such a strong suite of training material. We share the how-to document and videos that walk people through. They're very easy for anybody that's on a computer to access those videos. And then we do a walkthrough generally the very first class. This is where we can use that learner login to show them, we're going to walk you through the classroom together to show you where things are. Honestly, the site is so straightforward. it's not onerous. We haven't had a really big problem getting learners engaged with it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. It just I think a lot of times it's just the practice and getting used to it and using it a few times and you know you kind of figure out your way. But there's just a question and I know I think I know the answer, but I'm going to raise it here as well. So this is from Jared, and the question is, how does Google Classroom integrate with Google Meet? Are you able to embed the meetings right into the system so learners can always know where their meetings are and the resources are easy to access? And Randy, I think you can answer, so I'll leave it to you first.
Well, I'm gonna lean on you, Monica. So we started life kind of on Zoom and PowerPoint. We are halfway through our transition to fully Google Workspace. We're starting to use Meet. We're not there yet. We still use Zoom in Google Classroom. So I'm going to rely on Monica to speak to that integration because we're still playing with that. We're not quite there yet.
No, perfect. And I'm sure there will be more people answering in the chat as well. So again, we are learning and the questions that are coming in are amazing. As far as I remember, when you're in Google Classroom, when you have that feed with different updates, very close above you have different icons. One of them is calendar, one of them is Google Meet icon. And basically that Google Meet icon represents meeting for that class. So as soon as people click on that icon, they are joining the meeting specifically for that class. If they have two classes, there will be two separate Google Meets. Each class will have its own, but it's integrated. It's part of the platform that you're using, Jared. So it's fairly easy to access. You can still share external link to it, but it's actually part of the interface as well. I'm just going to do one more question and then we're going to go to next presenters and we're going to combine all those questions. If we haven't answered them, we'll try at the end or through follow-up emails just to make sure that we have enough time for everyone. But the question from Lana was, do you do any cake resources in Google? CAEC resources.
Yeah, how do we say that acronym? We
We just
have
say, yeah.
we have not yet. Primarily, and I think I saw it someplace else. The courses that we're offering, or the programs that we're offering through Google Classroom right now are programs that we had developed over time. They're primarily our stability and poverty reduction programming. We have quite a few in-house programs that we've done. So we don't have a classroom set up specifically for some of the more academic programs. These are more life skill programming that we're doing at this point.
Yeah.
And limited. So they're like 5, 6, 8 module programs. They're not kind of as open-ended as maybe something like Cake would be.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Randy. And I can see Tracy added a comment in our chat as well that at AlphaPlus we have a cake project and we have a community advisors and groups and we are working and trying to develop sample examples and we launch a bit of a website, but there's more to come. So kind of keep an eye on that as well if you can. Yeah. But thank you so much, Randy. I'm going to hand it over to Tina, who is our second guest. And Tina is from a school board. So I just want to make sure that Tina's microphone is working. Where is
Yes.
Tina?
Hi.
Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
No
And
problem.
we'll get through the slides and introductions right away. I'm just going to spotlight you for our recording. So Tina we'll be talking about Brightspace and desire to learn. And then I had a chance to work with Tina a while ago. So it's been a
Mm-hmm.
while since you started using D2L. When I was working with you, it was a while ago and you were just starting. So I know things have shifted for you and changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to hear more and then for you to share more information as well. Are you okay with me navigating the slides?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, perfect.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. My name's Tina DeLuca and I'm from Niagara Catholic. Like she mentioned, I'm the LBS lead instructor here. And here at Niagara Catholic, we have classroom teaching, we have in-class classrooms, and we also do a hybrid delivery model. So I am a teacher as well as a few days a week, I do administrative duties for the program. So I'm basically located in St. Catharines and Niagara Falls. So I teach in St. Catharines. I do administrative duties in Niagara Falls. But we have, and we'll talk about the locations on the next screen, but some fun facts about me is I like to bake. I enjoy watching football. Go Steelers, go. And if I wasn't a teacher, I'd probably organize events. I've always wanted to be a wedding planner, never happened. So maybe when I retire. Okay.
That sounds good.
All right. So a little bit more about, we call our LBS program the Academic and Core Skills Program. So we have 4 locations: St. Catharines, Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, and Welland. And then we also have, and they're all located in a continuing education site, which is very helpful. We also offer some services that our LBS program offers is PLAR upgrading, digital technology. We do basic programming like introductory to computers, Microsoft Word, and Excel. We just started doing basic Excel targeted training, and it's going extremely well. And we also do, obviously, the numeracy upgrading, which is a big chunk of what we do here. For those moving into credit, a lot of them struggle with the math skills. We do use the D2L. We have quite a few programs on the D2L. Some of these programs are quite a little bit older than the other ones. Some of them require some upgrades to them, but these are the programs that we have in place that we can access. So we have the ACS e-learning orientation. So I'll talk about a little bit more about that when I talk about the D2L and what we do. We have a Math for Everyday Living, which helps with those students transitioning to MEL Math grade 11. So again, your everyday math skills. And then we have chemistry prep. We noticed some of the students that were going into PSW were struggling with chemistry. So we put together a chemistry prep program. We also have an e-learning employment. I think this was the very, very first one we did, the e-learning employment. So we have that to prep students for employment. We recently put together a literacy test prep program, and we also have an ACS Intro to Google to help our LBS students.
That's exciting.
Next slide. Yeah. So I guess the reason why we started with the D2L was, number one, it was free, not really free. I mean, the scoreboard pays for it, but LBS doesn't pay for it. So we had access to free programming. And one of the nice things about our continuing education sites is that we have our own IT person who only works in the continuing education department. So that is extremely helpful. So we are able to get things done pretty quickly if we need to. So that's one of the reasons why we decided with the D2L, because we had the support and the help of our IT person. The other thing is it's obviously customizable content creation. You can put anything on there. You can break it up however you want. Tailored programs. In the D2L, you create what you call shells, and in those shells are your programs. So each one of those programs that we have is a shell in the D2L that students can access if they're given access to that program. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Students like online, right? If you talk to your students, they all want to do online learning. A lot of them do. So it increased the learner buy-in as to learners that couldn't come in who want to do online. Instructors can manage courses and content, so it's easy for the instructor to manage. However, there is a lot of back-end work before you actually post a new program online. The ability to provide online feedback to learners, which is really nice. So we have, a program, they hand in an assignment, we correct it, we provide them with feedback, and we let them know whether or not they need to resubmit with corrections. So that is very helpful. We can access materials from any device. We can do it at home. We can do it at work. We can do it wherever we want, and the ability to correct assignments at any time. So again, it's not an open and close. It's open all the time. So we can do it at home if we have too much correcting to do. Advice, tools, and tips. So the advice is that there's a lot to learn when it comes to the D2L. So when we first started, it was a little overwhelming. And I have to say that I worked with an LBS instructor who really loved the whole D2L platform. So she was really the key in developing most of those programs. I only came in later when it was a literacy test prep that I, uploaded and did that program curriculum, but a lot of those were developed by a different LBS instructor with obviously my support and the IT support. You have to have technical support because if things go wrong, there's so many things that went wrong that we had to work through with our technical support person. So that's the advice. The tools, as you go through it, you learn and you improve and all that. So when a student now is registered for one of the programs, we email them up front. We email the help desk with their login, because we have to have their login credentials. So they provide us with login credentials. And then we send them an email that has a welcome package. So the welcome package has a welcome letter. It gives them their name, their login, what they're doing, who's correcting their work, how many lessons, how many assignments they have to hand in, all that stuff. And then we ask them to do an orientation package, which is the ACS e-learning orientation. So that is a series of videos that our IT person put together for an orientation on understanding the D2L. And then it's very, very important to have tracking sheets for all the programs that you do, because that's where if you have quite a few students online doing different programs, you'll go crazy. So you have to have the right tracking forms so you know where they're at and what they're doing and all that. So that would be my, those are the tools. And then for tips, I say, I always tell instructors, do regular check-ins every morning, check, see how many, because it'll notify you how many assignments have been submitted. Try to correct them as quickly as you can. So there's a quick turnaround, quick feedback. So they stay on it and they keep submitting. And have additional online materials available if needed. So you'll notice that, even though they're doing online, some of them will struggle with some of the concepts. So we make sure that we have extra material online that we can send them and say, hey, you know what, you're struggling. Here's some additional worksheets that you can work through so it can help you, complete that assignment. So that's that.
That's a good tip. And sometimes you may have people who are too keen and they want more activities
Yes,
too.
that's true. That's true. So the literacy test prep program, the D2L course, it's also known as the OLC, like it's a grade 11 OLC program. So I think how this kind of came to literacy was the fact that our guidance counselor suggested that there were students that could graduate, but they were lacking the OLC credit. And they could graduate in June, but they don't have the OLC credit. So they have to wait till the following year to graduate. So in order for us to have more graduates, in talking to our principal, who's kind of in charge of the LBS program, we said, why don't we put them through the literacy course? Through our class, the academic and core skills, but they write the OLC exam. So with the principal's help, she was able to get, because in high school you have to write, the OLC test. So we had to do the same for the adults. So she arranged that, writing dates. And so we prepared this course so that they would go through the course. And then at the end, they would write the OLC test. So we did run this twice, but now what we do is we use it as, we just see how many learners need that OLC. If there are quite a few, then we'll run the literacy test prep. I said this is fairly new within the last couple of years. So what we now do is we have this course, so we just kind of open it up to students that require some extra work when it comes to English, when it comes to English, actually. So if they're doing, let's say they're doing PLAR online and they need some extra English work, they can go into this. We can put the shell up for them. So when they open up their D2L, they'll see this shell and we'll only open up the units that they need to do. Or this has also worked really well with ESL students that come into the classroom that are going to go into grade 11 that don't need the OLC. So we have them go through the program. They don't have to do the OLC test, but is prepping them for the grade 11 course. So it's worked well in in different ways. So we broke it down into 15 units. So units 1 to 5 was grammar paragraph, unit 6 to 10 was reading and pre-writing and writing strategies, and then unit 11-15 was writing. And all these components were put together in collaboration with the teachers who actually taught the OLC course to say, okay, what do you actually cover? What do we need to prep them for? So we put all this together. So I guess I could go in and share, Monica.
Yeah.
I'll okay, I'll share my screen. You cannot.
I
Oh,
stopped sharing, so you should be able to
it
share.
says you cannot share screen while the other participant is sharing.
Well, I just stopped, so just give it a second.
Oh, let me try again. Let me go. Okay, let me try again. Maybe I did it too quickly. There we go. Oh, share. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my Niagara Catholic. So they log into Niagara Catholic, and students will log in, right? So you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. So they log into niagaracatholic.ca and they go into what is the Niagara Catholic Virtual Learning Environment student portal, but I'll go into the staff portal. And this is what they see. So in the welcome package, the welcome letter, we show them this and say, you'll log in through guest login, but I'll log in as staff login. So when they open, this is the landing page for the D2L. Some of you have seen it, some of you haven't, but and students will only see this. So if I work at St. John Center, so they're only going to see this because this is what I'm going to give them access to. I have all of them because I've got every instructor and we've kept them separate. So every site has their own shell for confidentiality reasons. So we have St. John Center, we have St. Anne, we have St. John South, Father Fogarty. And then this one beside here, we have the tree trunk here. It's called ACS eLearning PLAR. This is, I'll explain this in a little bit, but I'm going to go to the ACS literacy test prep. I'm just going to kind of show you how it's broken down. So in here, we can create a post. So we always, we update this. So we put something in here. The course is designed to help you acquire and demonstrate the cross-curricular. Anyways, we explain it in there. Or we put down, for some of our other courses, it'll be welcome back. September is here. Let's start, submitting assignments. And when we explain this, when I explain this to a student, I try to keep it simple. So I say in LBS, we only use content and assignments. So Niagara Catholic uses this platform for their e-learning courses. So when you do an e-learning course with Niagara Catholic, you'll get the same setup here, except they also use discussion groups and they'll use digital tools and they'll use they have to complete a portfolio. We don't do that. We just have them do content and assignments. So if we go to content, we have the breakdown of what we do in the literacy test prep. So we've broken it down into kind of what I mentioned. Multiple choice strategies, informative, story narrative, all that. And then these will also break up into writing a summary, paraphrase video, writing summaries, summarizing two, summaries with examples, and then a review. So what we've done is for each of these categories, we've included a video, we've included a practice, a reading, and then practice and a review. So the review is what gets handed in, and then we track everything that they hand in. So when they go to their assignment, though, you'll see here, it'll say review, summarizing an article. We've simplified it for them and said, go to assignments, download these documents, complete and upload into the Dropbox. So they go to assignments and they're going to see it here, but we're going to I'm just going to switch over. Like right now, I'm an administrator. I'm going to view as a student so you can see what they see. And when they go to assignments, they see all the reviews that they need to do, right? So these are all the things that they're handing in to us. So paragraph sheet, they go to this and they're going to see, what they have to hand in. This is, paragraph sheet, computers, they have to, fill this in and submit it to us. So that's
One more minute. sorry, Tina, just one more minute, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
okay, sorry. Oh my gosh.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things here that I can talk about, but it's kind of hard because there's so much. But one of the important things to know is that it does take a little bit of time to kind of understand how to upload and how to put them where they got to go and reorder them and all that kind of stuff. But it is, like I said, a lot of upfront work, but it's great. It's great to use a D2L. And I'm hoping that in the future, my plan is to have a financial literacy program in the D2L. That's the plan. We also do use it for PLAR, but we won't talk about that today, but if you want more information, feel free to email me and we can touch base.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just
Okay.
seeing some of the screens, and I hope that for everybody who is looking and may not have seen D2L before, you can see some of the layouts and information. And
Yeah.
this could be an hour, 2 hour session, of course. So we
Yes.
know, and I'm giving you
Yes.
10 minutes. So,
There's a
you know,
lot of stuff.
there's a
Yes.
big difference. So I'm going to switch the sharing, and then as we are preparing the next presenter, if there are any questions for Tina, please feel free to send the messages, or I can see one is from
Okay.
Grace. Grace is
I'm
asking,
going to stop sharing. Go ahead.
perfect. Is Brightspace ever used to complement in-person programming versus exclusively online courses? So that's the question from Grace.
Yes. So we do have learners who, let's say they're in class to do math and they want some extra work. We have some things that we will put online for them for the math in the D2L. And we also use it for the English. Just like I said, the literacy test prep, if they're in class and they want more, but they want it online, then we can give them components of the literacy test prep. But yes, we use it in many different ways.
Okay, perfect. And then one more question from Randy, and then we are going to switch to the next presenter. So the question is, are there specific resources you use for, oops, sorry, my thing just jumped and I lost it. Um, are there, oh, it was a question from Randy, and the question was, are there specific resources you use for the advanced Excel training?
The advanced Excel training?
Yes.
The Excel training that we do now is just introductory, but we're hoping to include it's a fairly new program, but we're hoping to include a more advanced in the new year.
All right. Okay. And then as with everything else, and I know Tina mentioned that as well. So if there's things and resources that anyone is willing
Lots.
to share, put them on in chat. We will add them to our collection of resources. If somebody else is looking for something, connect, right? That's the
Yes.
main thing. So
Yep.
thank you so much, Tina. This was
You're
quick
very
but
welcome.
amazing to kind of get that sense of the
Thank you.
layout as well. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Tina.
for inviting me.
No, no problem. So glad that you were able to make it. All
Thanks.
right, so we are going to switch to Althea next, and then we're just going to do a quick setup with Althea so I can spotlight our next presenter. Perfect. And
Okay.
then I'll let Tina rest now. Here we
Mhm.
go. Althea, thank you for joining us. I know you're going to talk about Canvas, not
Yes.
Canva. So
No.
I know many of us are using Canva for graphic design. This is Canvas, which is learning management system from a company called Infrastructure. And then Althea is going to tell us more about herself and how she's using this tool with some of the literacy programs. Althea, can I hand it over to you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Monica.
No
Hi,
problem.
hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Althea Balmes. I was a consultant project coordinator for Westio Literacy Collaborative, and I'll be sharing with you all how our collaborative used the learning management system Canvas in our tutor training. So a bit of an overview of what I'll be speaking about. Um, a brief background of Westio and the tutor training, why we chose Canvas ultimately, and how we're using it. And then I'll be going over some of the limitations of Canvas. So Westio, Adult Literacy Collaborative, is a group of 5 inclusive and culturally diverse community adult literacy program in the West End, Toronto. And we provided access to learning from a social justice perspective. And Westio includes Alexandra Park, Davenport Perth, LAMP, Parkdale Project Read, and West Neighborhood House. So for over 10 years, the Westio Collaborative have been working together to deliver a social justice learner-centered tutor training. And in 2019, at the height of COVID, they brought me into the project to do three things: update the content and materials of their tutor training, to make tutor training more accessible to deliver online, and then house all the materials in a platform accessible to all 5 organizations. So I was working with some constraints. The first one was minimizing the digital barrier for the service providers and tutors. So service providers are already overwhelmed with running their program virtually on top of everything else. And I'm also working with 5 different organizations who in the regular are using different suites, whether that's Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace or something else. And then I needed to also be able to work with a system that they're already familiar with. The second, it has to be easy for business service providers to access and learn how to navigate the platform. So as a designer, I know that onboarding and the learning curve of a new platform is often the big challenge for new users. And tutor training happens 2 times a year. So onboarding and navigating the platform can't be complicated for both facilitators and tutors. And our tutor demographic range from 19 plus to the retired. So not every one of them are as tech savvy as the next person. And then the last design constraint is making it affordable for WestEO to maintain. I came on the project through a grant to update WestEO tutor training program. So finding a low-cost solution was important for the sustainability of maintaining the platform. So we chose Canvas. With all the 3 constraints in mind, we ultimately chose Canvas in structure, or Canvas for short, for 3 main reasons. Number 1, it's free. They have an option to try Canvas free for teacher. Canvas instructor offer their LMS for non-institutional educators through this thing called through Canvas free for teacher account. So you just need an institutional email. For us, it meant creating a Google Workspace specifically for WestEO so that I have access to a WestEO email that helped me set up our course. Number 2, access to other online tools. We integrate Zoom, Google Collaborative Tools, and Padlet. Number 3, it has to be easy to sign up. So unlike using Google Classroom, you can use your preferred email to sign up, and it's a click of a button to register through the Canvas. And then the last is having to be straightforward to use for back-end users. So I'll show you our Canvas. This is our homepage. The first thing you will see is our modules. We use Canvas mainly as a repository for our materials and are meant to use asynchronously with our in-person or online classes. So first, it's organized with an overview, an introduction on the course, how to use Canvas, and our modules for the training. And on the side panels, we'll give you quick access to different pages in our course, including our syllabus. The next slide, please. So our syllabus, it shows and explains who we are, how our tutor training is structured, and what each 4 modules cover. I'm going to share with you 2 of our modules. Our first module is an introduction. So this is kind of an orientation for tutors and facilitators about what tutor training is about. It has an overview and information on our live sessions, our land acknowledgement.
Okay, I can do it. You're on your way. Yeah, okay.
Hi. We can hear you.
Long day.
Yeah, it was kind of a long day.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have somebody who is unmuted. So here we go. I think I got it.
Yeah, Monica.
Sorry, Althea.
No worries. So we have our land acknowledgement, our Canvas orientation, and our tech training for live sessions. So a best practice is to create training modules on how to use the platform for all user types, even for facilitators. So I work with Tracy from AlphaPlus, who's here today, to help me create training videos to gather resources on how to answer FAQs on Canvas. This feature is only available to facilitators, and it's not published in the student facing of our course. So it looks like this. And then my second example is one of our training modules, our tutor training modules. So the next slide, please, Monica.
Thank you, sorry.
No worries. So all of our modules follow the same structure, and it's organized in order of what learners need to do first to last. It always starts with a discussion of previous session, followed by required reading and/or required viewing. In some modules, we have assignments they must do, or in this case, a quiz. There are also tabs dedicated to suggested readings and post-session materials. Post-session materials are posted after the in-class sessions. I or one of the facilitators upload the materials in our public Google Drive that is linked here in Canvas. So each of these tabs are marked by a different banner, so it's easier for users to differentiate where they are in the module. So there's a teacher view and a student view. Next slide, Monica, please. As a teacher, you can choose what is visible to students while having access to more shortcuts and features on the left side panel. For student view, the user flow is a little more streamlined and it's easier to follow. So one feature not available to students is the speed grader. At WestEO, similar to other places, we don't mark our tutors' assignments or quizzes, but we do use the grading system to check the tutor's engagement. This is called the speed grader in Canvas. To do this, you go to quizzes or assignments, depending on what you're checking, then select which assignment you're checking specifically. In this case, the impact of violence on learning reflection, and you press speed grader on the right menu. This will take you to Canvas gradebook, where you can go through the responses of your students. You can make notes for each question, or you can choose which student you want to check through a menu list. Let's look at the next slide for this, Monica. Thank you so much. So this is what the gradebook looks like. So you have a menu for selecting which students on the main menu, or the top menu. And then the next slide. In Canvas, you can self-enroll your students. So Canvas will prepare a unique URL for students to sign up to your course. You can add people manually, but for me, working with multiple organizations, the self-enrollment was an easier way to add folks into the platform. So you can send a mass email within your org with this link, and from there, they would be prompted to sign up. So some limitations. Aesthetically, Canvas isn't the most appealing. There's actually limited storage as well. The free option gives 500 MB only. So we use our Google Drive a lot to store a lot of our materials and then link it back to Canvas so people can just click those buttons or those links. And then number 3 is the customization. So for WestEO, we have some slight customization. For instance, each tab has a banner. Sometimes the design does get wonky because I updated something, and I do end up having to deal with some HTML codes. I'm sure there's like an easier way to do this, but somehow I'm dealing with HTML code. So this is not a problem if you have a very basic understanding of HTML and what you're looking at. But despite the limitations, Canvas satisfies the need of our organization, and we've been using it for 3 years, so we have very minimal criticism about Canvas.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to jump into questions for Althea. I know it's a different tool. Not everybody's even familiar with that, or we mix it up with Canva sometimes. But this is just to show you that there are some tools that may be free still with limited storage space or some customization that needs to happen. But as we are looking at the different examples, whether we go live or see screen captures, I think you can also see how different the platforms are from each other in terms of the layouts, simplicity, graphics, and so on. And sometimes even that can be a tool for you to make a decision which platform you may want to use as well. With Canvas, yes, it looked busy for us as administrators, but I think if you looked at that student view, it was a bit simpler. Not all the features were enabled, so it's cleaner. But it is an amazing tool to try as well. Yeah. So there's a question from Lana. Have you seen Google Classroom and can you compare it to Canvas? On the spot in 2 words. Just kidding, but Althea, go ahead.
I have not utilized Canvas, so I can't compare like I can't have like a full comparison. Yes. Sorry, Lana.
I think that may be a question more for our Tracy, who has used different platforms. But Tracy, I don't want you to put you on the spot. But one of the things for sure is that in Google Classroom, you really have only 3 tabs, and that's what you're dealing with. So in terms of the choices you have, it just has slightly different layout. You still have to learn how everything works, but it's just simpler in a way in how much content there is and where you're going. I believe in Canvas, you can turn on and off different features and you can lay it out in a slightly different way. So it's just a matter of the choices and how many choices you actually want to have. But Tracy, if you want to speak up or if you want to answer in the chat, I will leave it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Canvas is more structured, like more like an LMS, whereas Google's kind of an interim. Google Classroom's a little more of a kind of an interim place, and it's sort of designed to utilize Google products, right? So like things that you make in Google and organize them into learning pathways for the students. So it's a little bit, it's quite different. It's more like, it's probably more similar to D2L or Moodle than it is to Google Classroom if you're comparing them. I'm just hunting around because during the pandemic, I did a lot of resources about Canvas and Google Classroom, and I'm just looking to see what's on the web, what's still there. They might be a little bit outdated, so I'll put that together and put something in the chat.
Yeah. Or we can send it after, Tracy, so there's not that much pressure. But I remember you had the columns in a way, kind of explaining the differences between the tools, which can be handy. And I can see in the chat other participants chimed in as well. And Carrie is saying that I have played with both. Google Classroom is aimed to bring online into the classroom. And then you're using all kinds of Google tools for that, from chat to Drive to Google Meet, where Canvas is more online, independent of the classroom, and kind of, you can do it independently from any location. You kind of bring stuff more into the canvas, where with Google Classroom, you kind of work with different tools around you. I don't know how else to describe, but if there's anything else we can do, let us know. We can do overviews and stuff like that as well. But I want to thank Althea for really sharing with us, because again, not too many programs share how they use Canvas. And I think one point that Althea made when we were chatting about this is that it's very unusual to have 5 programs working together and then building the tutor training and then using the resources between programs. Usually we build for our own program and customize it that way, which I think, in this setting may have been a bit of a maybe even challenge, trying to make sure that all the ways and processes meet the criteria for all programs, but at the same time, it's very unusual and amazing way for programs to collaborate together and develop resources for a bigger group than just individual programs. So thank you so much, Althea, for that. I really, really appreciate your time and what you have shared with us today. If there's any other questions, let us know. But thank you, Althea.
No worries. There is a question by Ryan on the chat.
Yeah, go. Do you want to answer that? Yeah.
Yeah. So they asked, are there features for learner interaction, like discussion boards, chat features, commenting on resources, etc.? So there is a discussion board which we do utilize for different parts of the activities, but with a WestEO, like a lot of the things that the organizations wanted was to just use Canvas not as a substitute for in-person learning. So I really did try to minimize trying to put all of the activities into this LMS.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Althea. I appreciate it. And next, we are going to switch to Lisa. Lisa is the program manager at the Literacy Group. And Lisa is not using full LMS. She's actually using Google Sites for training. And she's going to share with us how that evolved and where they're going with it and how things are working or not working. Lisa, would you like to share your screen? Is that how we are doing it? I think you're sharing your screen, right?
Please, because there's a couple of links I've you're
Go
gonna
for it.
see me work the way we normally work, which is everything sort of linked together.
Perfect.
So here we go. Slide presentation in. Can you see my slide deck?
Yes.
Perfect. With the extra screen, sometimes when you have it in slide presentation mode, you don't actually get to see what's happening fully with the integration. So um, I all of the things that I'm going to talk about today really have been an evolution, not just because of COVID, because we were invested in this process probably about 2, maybe 3 years prior to the lockdowns in 2020. We were using Google Docs, Sheets, Forms, Sites, and primarily we were using those resources because it was easier for us, at least in the beginning, was easier for the learner because everything that we've heard thus far is that there are logins that are required. And we work with learners at level 1 through 2 and some level 3 in our workplace programs. But we're a community-based program that is working out of 2 sites with one-to-one volunteer tutors as well as group tutors. So it's a complex group of both staff and volunteers that needed to be able to access these resources. So it needed to be easy for volunteers as well who have varied computer skills. And so really our LMS involves us now paying for a larger Google Drive because of the number of assets that we have in there. We had and still have a network share drive that is encrypted where all of our confidential information goes. We don't trust Google to anything other than a first name and one piece of contact information. Nothing gets stored in our Google Drive that could identify a student any way, shape, or form. And certainly we're not collecting things like social insurance numbers through Google products. In 2015, we weren't even doing that. It was really about program management. I used it as a replacement for SurveyMonkey. We were doing some collaboration amongst our team members. It was really individualized. It was not structured throughout the organization, and it definitely wasn't learner facing as early as 2015. And pretty much everything went from Google into our share drive and stayed there. And that's sort of the final home for all of the documentation. But in 2019, we took advantage of AlphaPlus's 1 year of mentoring. And we had 2 staff members who wanted to focus on building a learner portal that could be student facing. And we wanted to build this in some kind of product. And we worked with Monica on choosing Google Sites as a way to be able to have easy access for the learner, a single link to be able to click on something and find curated resources that our team had put together that the students could access. And the Friday before the lockdowns in March 2020, one of the developers of this Google site sort of waved to me as she was leaving the building and said, I've just put a counter on the learner portal. I'll see you when the pandemic's over. And that was it. That was the end of us working within the office probably for 18 months to 2 years. So this learner portal turned into the primary access for all of our learners for the first, I would say, 3 weeks. We had phone calls and we had this portal. And this is where we were trawling through all of the local information about how to get a vaccine, what was happening with lockdowns, what was happening with getting free tests and masks, all that stuff, right? Really trying to find legitimate information for people to navigate a horrendous situation and try and basically keep our contact with our students. It was full of all kinds of things. And we had already started building things like intake assessments, some select milestones that we were going to be doing for the students. There's a whole folder that I have since shared with LBS partners that include all of these Google products that we have been building, most notably the intake assessments and a full suite of milestones in Google Forms. this now became an entity unto itself. And so for about 8 weeks, we were using the learner portal. We were doing all the tutor training. We developed a return to the office portal that had all of our COVID tracking in it. So again, you can see how all of these products that Google offers were starting to be integrated into a basic Google site, which was a vehicle to present many Google products in an organized fashion that people could access without having to log in, create an account. We could have it on our own website. It was really easy to link these products together. And so we started actually developing a full process that involved intake, assessment, now training, and all of the exit that we did with some groups. And the first one that we worked with actually was our customer service. So we needed a way for Lori to be able to do intake for fully online learners who were going to be taking part in our customer service training program, which is a 6 weeks program, 12 hours online in Zoom. And so Lori has all of this paperwork at her fingertips to be able to go through a quick screen, a reading quiz, our intake forms. There's a pre-evaluation in Google Forms as well. That's a pre-test. There's a writing sample about how to navigate workplace conflict. There's the signature for the learner plan. And then most recently, we have added an online registration form. This online registration form actually is the registration form that we all use. It has coaching by me in YouTube videos on exactly how to fill in this registration form. The registration form is exactly the same documentation, including snapshots of all of the information and why and how we ask the information. The information in this document, once it's submitted, I get a notification to say this form has been filled in. I delete it from Google and I move it directly over into our encrypted drive. So it never stays in Google for any length of time. Okay. It was pretty much the only way that we could get folks through what is a really, really big intake for these classes often have 20 students or more per class. So for Lori to actually do this full assessment and filling in all of these forms manually through Zoom, it was taking her upwards of an hour and a half to go through the paperwork with folks in Zoom, which was really, really daunting. So this sped things along for folks who could navigate these forms, which meant that Lori could work in person or online with the one or two folks who really needed the additional help so that we could use the technology to give kind of bespoke service where it was required. So this was the beginning of how we actually started to navigate a kind of an ongoing issue. And that because this worked fairly well, instead of having an email where we would email the PowerPoint presentation, we then built a website that we give the link to the learners, and this is going to be how they access everything in our customer service program, including some expectations, all of the slide decks. They also have access to additional classroom activities. Some of them are online, some of them are links to videos that either we've created or other videos that are part of the programming. Many of these quizzes now have been recently updated with H5P content, so they're more interactive than a simple Google form. Links to the websites where we do some emotional intelligence quizzes, and the exit form, which is the EO proprietary exit form that everybody has to do when they're finished a program. So again, packaging stuff that we already had. We already had the forms in Google Forms. We already used these links. These links were set up in PowerPoint presentations that were really, really difficult. And that slide deck wouldn't email because it was so big. So splitting it up into 6 separate slides that were more easily accessible was a much better use. Not only that, this slide or this Google site, the link for it can be given to a volunteer and they can teach directly from this. So we give them access to a Zoom room, we give them this link. They have everything that they need in order to be able to carry a class without having to worry about emails backwards and forwards to get them a slide deck, get them these resources, make sure they've got this student list, etc., etc. It is a self-contained delivery package that also works as a student-facing package as well. We used that for quite some time, and it ended up becoming kind of the model that we use for many things. The we modeled an exit package or portal in exactly the same way. We have quiz 6.0, which looks suspiciously like milestone 60. That's embedded in this site. We have the learner feedback survey. We have a post assessment that we do comparisons with the pre-survey, and then the workplace conflict, as well as a follow-up questionnaire, which is the EO exit form, plus some business intelligence stuff that we want on our side. So that was sort of the model of how to do intake, exit, and then the delivery of a program that was both student facing and volunteer facing all at the same time.
So Lisa, 2 more minutes?
Yep, we've expanded that now. It includes a similar model for all of our volunteer online training. We also have delivery portals for all of our online classes, as well as the intake for students who are able to do this before their one-to-one programming. And then the other piece that we have as well is 2 programs that are essentially video tutorial delivery with an in-office placement, and they are full Google sites that have 10-part content that include video content as well as embedded summaries and quizzes. And then these are also then matched up where the volunteer and the student can meet in one of our Zoom rooms to get one-to-one mentoring rather than just having it be solely self-directed program. So we've really tried to sort of blend these things together. Really, in the grand scheme of things, this is where we intend to go. The way this is working for us, everything is held in our Google Drive before it's moved over to our encrypted share drive. But this has been working so well with 0 cost, and it's made it accessible not just for staff and students, but also volunteers as well. So they're able to collaborate and build some of these Google sites for us. In fact, one of our newest programs, the administrative assistant program, that was actually built by 2 hires through the Canada Summer Job Grant program last year. And so it's just a question of how do we continue adding to what we've already created by building in more H5P using AI. I'll talk about that in a month or so to sort of embed all of those pieces in. Keeps it very nimble.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. And then just to quickly add, what Lisa is referring to is that our next showcase is about AI. And Lisa is going to come back to share with us how she's using AI with building some of the content, some of the courses, and so on. So if you haven't signed up yet, sign up for the next month. There will be more information coming up shortly. But thank you so much, Lisa. I know, again, with Tina, with everybody else, we have so much information. We would like to share. We could do separate sessions for each of your topics. But I hope this was a quick snapshot as well. And I think what Lisa is also showing us that it doesn't have to be a learning management system tool. It just whatever tool works for you in your situation, in your setting with your learners. And I know Randy talked about Google Classroom. We had Brightspace, we had Canvas. Everybody's setting up things depending on what they have access to, what they can do, the skill sets everybody has. It can make a difference. But as you're deciding or thinking about future for your own program, you now have seen some examples that may be very helpful for you to kind of consider as you're going forward as well. So I'm going to leave it here. I don't see too many questions for Lisa at this point, but I can see some comments, so we can go back to those later.
Just say one quick thing as well before we move on, that anyone who wants a more in-depth look at anything that we've created, I am more than happy to sit down in a Zoom room either with yourselves or with your team or a couple of other folks to show you in a lot more depth what we've done, how we've done it, and sort of the broader ramifications of either the admin side or the direct facing side.
Perfect. So as we are switching, I can see Randy raised the hand. So Randy, go ahead. I'm going to switch and set up for Lee and for Stephanie. Okay?
Sorry, I'm mute. Just a quick question, and this is across the board, and it may be something that can become a standalone session like this again. So one of the things we struggle with or we're cognizant of is learner engagement on these platforms, and how to capture all the work that we're doing with them and how to keep them engaged and on the platform to get through the work. And so my suspicion is all the different platforms have best practices, things that tricks and tools that people have learned over time. And this, with more and more being moved online, it may be helpful to have a really in-depth look at how different agencies are managing learner engagement when it's, more than half remote.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. Absolutely.
putting it
Because
out
it's
there.
not easy, right? Like I know,
No.
I think you, Randy, and I think Tina mentioned that you don't give out all of the content right away because then students don't show up, right? So you're
Yeah.
trying to kind of manage that access in that way. And then so everybody's trying different tricks and trips to kind of make sure that the learners stay engaged, definitely. Yeah. Good point, Randy. Okay, Lisa, thank you so much. We are going to jump. We are almost done with our presentations, but we have one more. So this is Lee and Stephanie from Fleming College. They're also using Brightspace. We are using it in the college setting rather than school board or community program. So that will give us a bit of a different perspective as well. Now I can see there's a bit of a sound issue and I'm not sure who it is. Lee and Stephanie, are you guys, are your microphones okay?
I think so.
Okay, Lee and Stephanie, can we test yours?
Hello?
Yes, it works. Yes, I think Stephanie,
Okay.
I think it's yours. It's just there's a bit of background noise, but I think it should be okay.
Oh, okay.
Better.
It's quiet down here. I'm not sure.
Better. No. I think it's the breathing. Somehow
Oh.
it just kind of comes in as well, but that should be okay. All right, so I'll hand it over to you to do quick introductions and share with us what you have been up to.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us here. My name is Lee Rock, and my partner in crime here is Stephanie Hicks.
Hello.
We're program coordinators and faculty for Fleming College's academic upgrading program. We both love tech, and we also really love curriculum design and development. And so this has led us to do a lot of pushing to get our programs, some of our program courses on D2L. We deliver literacy basic skills, targeted training programs, and college prep ACE courses. And we have a mix of a lot of different delivery. We have face-to-face only. We have students who work virtually with us only, and then a hybrid of both. So we offer faculty support online as well as in person. Our students are doing self-paced learning, so everybody is in a different spot in the course, so we're not synchronous. And we also have continuous intake in our program. We have 4 sites: Coburg, Hamilton, Lindsay, and Peterborough. And yeah, our main campus for Fleming is in Peterborough, but we are off-site in most of our locations. Go ahead, Steph.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. At Fleming, we are lucky to have access to D2L. We use D2L for learner orientation, which is completed on our academic upgrading program page. We also have a digital skills module on D2L, which covers basic computer skills required for success in our program. We currently have our biology and chemistry courses on D2L, and we've been doing it this way since winter of 2022. We're working on our physics course now, and we're planning for more courses to be integrated into D2L in the future. Our end goal is to have all of our AU courses on D2L, so we're working towards that. We started our D2L journey with the academic upgrading program page. It is used for orientation, so there's no official grades that are associated with it. And this type of D2L page allows us to enroll students on our own rather than going through the admin systems within the college. And we've got our digital skills module set up in the same way. So we self-enroll those students as well. To get started using D2L, we had many meetings with our college operations and the college D2L team to figure out how it could work for us. And it took us about 2.5 years to get it up and rolling from that initial meeting. So it was a bit of a process. We did encounter lots of roadblocks. The first thing was that we wanted to set up our science courses in the same way as our program page so that we could control the enrollment of students. But we were told no, because those are graded courses where students earn credits. We weren't allowed to do that. So we had to come up with another way. The college runs on semesters and we don't. So that was another roadblock that we hit because we are continuous self-paced. So we always have new students coming in. So we had to figure out how to navigate that piece. In addition, at the start of each new semester, there is a new course shell generated on D2L. So it would have been too difficult for us to move learners from semester to semester in their courses because their work and their progress is lost, and students would have multiple shells show up for their course, which would also be very confusing for them. So what we decided to do was let the learners stay in the course shell they were in, and we monitor any past shells that still have students actively working in them. But sometimes that can be up to about 20 different shells at a time. So it does get to be a bit to manage. And the last consideration that we have is that we do have lots of different faculty teaching in our courses, and sometimes they come and go. So to be able to give them access to all of the shells, because we have so many shells, we created what we call an AU Science role. And that's a general login for all the faculty that are teaching. We share that with them, and we add that AU Science login into D2L. So then all of our faculty can access all of those shells that we mentioned. So now I'll turn it over to Lee so she can showcase some of our D2L courses.
Yeah, so Monica, can you let me share my page? Because I'm going to actually do a demo, a live demo.
Perfect. Another look at the D2L. Yay.
Okay. Hopefully. Actually, I'm going to share my second screen because I think that's more reliable. Okay, so are we good, Steph? Perfect, thank you. One of the things worth mentioning, even though we monitor like a lot of shells, when something's submitted, we've set it up. D2L allows us to have an automatic email sent to our subject inbox that we use. And so we know if a student has submitted anything and what shell they're in. So that's quite helpful. Even though we are managing a lot of shells, it makes it a lot less complex. So that's a tool that we really enjoy in D2L. Just let me move my screen controls so I can see what I'm showing you. So this is the landing page we have. And if you're a student, you would probably just see the academic upgrading program page and whatever course shell you would be in. So we have a program page. We have our course shells. And you can see I've got old semesters here. And they do stay closed. We usually put a note up for students so they know that they can continue working. We explain that quite thoroughly to them so they know that they can still access. And then we have our master course shells. So our master course shells, they're where we do our design changes and any corrections we need to do. We use them when the new semester shells are created for our courses to roll out the material into them. We just basically import it and it goes very, very seamlessly for the most part. And they're also our backup for our courses. And one of the other things we do with these master shells, since they're our masters, basically, we actually export them out as a course cartridge. So if anything ever happened, we can re-upload them to D2L. I guess probably 10 years ago, Fleming College had issues with D2L and lost a lot of course material. So we're very careful about our backups. All right, so when I'm going to look at our program page first, we use our program page for orientation and for announcements with our students, so they know if classes have been canceled or things like that. We have a pinned message at the beginning with a start here. So this takes them right into starting the orientation. But as you can see, we also use it for class cancellations, student illness. We share materials that other of our literacy agencies want our students to see. So it's quite useful at that. We've also in this orientation or the program page, we've embedded milestone 28, the SMART goals activity. So when our learners get through our initial intake and do their forms and they do this orientation, they are achieving a milestone most likely. So we have that taken care of right away. when we one of the other things we do like about D2L is that it's quite good about some accessibility tools. It's got some really good ones. One of them is it will read
Banner.
you.
How orientation works.
So now I just got to stop
Hello
it.
and welcome to Academic Upgrading Orientation. We are excited to be working.
So it can let you do that. You have to be careful when you're demonstrating because obviously it scrolls down, but it will read the whole page for you. And then the other thing we do have on our page here, our program page, is we have our current teaching schedule, which is really nice. So students can access that at any point in time. So it's a good communication tool once our students are more comfortable with it. We do have video and printed instructions that we send to them so that they have an idea on how to navigate that. And if we know a learner expresses some discomfort with learning on computers, we ask them to come to an in-person class where faculty assist them to walk them through this process. The other thing in our orientation and our program page, we have a screening quiz for our learners' digital skills. So they do this quiz, and if they score below a certain percentage, we shuttle them into a digital skills module that teaches them just basic skills that they will need for interacting with us online or even within class, like how to attach a file, how to copy and paste, very simple, basic computer skills. And when someone's shuttled into this digital skills module, we recommend that they come to class in person if at all possible. We really noticed with this, since we've implemented this, there's a lot of improvement in our learners' confidence with computers, but also in their outcomes. They tend to stick around and not get discouraged quite as quickly because they have a bit more skills than they did before. So there's some instant learning happening for them. I'm going to show you now our master shell for chemistry. This is what the course would look like. There's no students enrolled in this. This is why I'm using the master shell because we're not going to share any students' personal information. So our welcome page is just our landing page where students get to when they start the course. We have what in D2L, one of the things, they have a lot of elements you can use to design in your course. This is an accordion element, which we really love because it makes the page a lot simpler to look at. And it's easier for students. They're not overwhelmed with a lot of information, and they can pop down and do whatever item they're interested in. So when they're first starting, this is great because it's overwhelming with a lot of information on a page. And then later when they want to go back and find information, it's easier for them to find it. So it's kind of a nice feature. Also on all of our course pages, we have a "We want to hear from you" message with our subject inbox name so that they don't have to go to a specific place to understand how to reach us and get faculty help. One of the other things we found when using a learning management system, and especially with online learning, is we had to build some stopping points into the course, and we had to talk about them with our learners. We had to let our learners know about them. They do have an at a glance and a tracking sheet that shows them what they have to complete, and they can keep track of where they are in the course. But because it's online and self-paced, we had a lot of learners think that, oh, I can do this in 2 weeks, I'll be done, I'll just power through it. So we had to give them some stopping points to increase the engagement with faculty so that they have to connect with faculty and we can check and see how they're doing. As well, we needed to let them know about these stopping points because otherwise they plan to be done in 2 weeks when they actually have, check-in meetings that usually take, by the time we schedule them and meet with them, either over the phone, video, or in person in class, and also that they need to book their unit tests and their final tests. Now, this is a credit course. Yeah.
Sorry, just 3 more minutes. I'm kind of just trying to keep track of time.
So there's some other things I would love to show you, but I'll skip to the ones that are most important for us. D2L allows you to create question libraries. So you can use, for course material, you can create all of these different types of questions. Arithmetic questions that can have variable numbers put in. So you can have a range of what numbers for your adding questions. So between 0 and 99 plus between 0 and 50 equals, and you can have unlimited arithmetic questions. But also once you create these questions in the question library, you can use them to create your unit tests or any other assessment you want. Assessments can be worth grades or formative. We actually use homework quizzes as formative assessment. The reading the accessibility for the reading to listen to the questions is still there. These are auto-graded, so really great for formative feedback, improves students understanding the material or that they don't understand the material, so they reach out to get help. We also have tried to create some community using discussions, and we have an introductions discussion and also a fun gallery where students can post fun chemistry, memes, jokes, images, and we get them going by giving them a couple bonus marks to do the first one, but we often find students will come back and post others later. So it's kind of a nice engagement. And the biggest one, I think, for us, because we are asynchronous, self-paced, is the class progress tool. So we have the ability to get a class list, which shows us a summary of where students are at. And then we can actually dig in a little bit deeper and find out like what their grades are, if they have any, what they've completed, what content they have visited or accessed yet, and so on. But also see, so here you can see when they accessed content, and you can also see when they've accessed the course. Now, there's one other thing I really would like to show you. We also use restrictions. So this course, Unit 2, for instance, has a couple of lessons. Then we have a video. So we have videos in each of those lessons. Then we give them a little formative homework quiz. But as you can see, we manage how they go through. So with these restrictions, they cannot get to the next topic unless they completed the topics before. So that leads them through the course. And so they don't have to wonder where they're going next. They can go backwards after they've opened material, but it consistently leads them through the course. And we feel like that's really improved the experience for them. How am I for time?
One more minute, maybe the things we learned, or do you want to just kind of do it all together while you're
Yeah,
sharing the screen?
no, we can do things we learned. So let me stop sharing.
Okay.
So I want to stop sharing. There we go.
Perfect. So we'll just wrap up with some of the things you learned because those are really good tips.
Okay. Go ahead, Steph.
So a lot of these Lee already shared with you, things like starting with a mature course before putting it onto the LMS and really focusing on the design, using those restriction and locking tools for content, just so that the learners aren't overwhelmed when they open up a page and just see like a million things. So we really, really use those restrictions. The quizzing tools as well that Lee's demonstrated with the variety and immediate feedback, building of community with discussion groups, but really the most absolute important thing is having a backup. As Lee mentioned, we have master shells, which are our backups, and then we also are able to export the course cartridge as well. So that's really the biggest piece of advice, is always making sure you've got a backup.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. And again, I know we all are feeling the same way. It's like this is just so much information in such a short time. Of course, we value your time because we know that you have limited time as well. But then we really wanted to show you and highlight some of the features. And I really think like looking at how Tina's program is using D2L Brightspace, and then how Fleming College is using D2L Brightspace, very different methods and approaches, but they're both working. And if you think about students who are partially exposed to some of the features, just maybe using one or two features, content and activities to do, not having to use everything. And then as they progress, they get more used to it and they use different platforms and different sections as well. So we have seen, kind of simpler ways of doing things and really more advanced with much more features and a lot of information behind the scenes that can be really helpful for statistics analysis, seeing how the group is progressing. We had one question in the chat. So there was a question from Sally, and it was for you about for program who has not started using D2L yet. Would you recommend to have a shell for each learner? We have around 15 to 20 learners in each class. Would this be advisable and manageable for instructors? So I think you have a shell for each course, and this is a question, a shell for each student. And as you're answering this question, we are going to post information about upcoming ins and feedback so you can have the links before we wrap up for today. So go ahead.
Okay, perfect. D2L doesn't allow you to create a shell for each learner, so we are limited in that. When we manage our learners, we actually use shared files on a shared drive with our team, And to be honest, right now we have different folders for coursework that we want to keep and for their PRF forms and those type of things for their milestones and also for their learner record. So we actually don't do that on D2L. So if you want to make a separate one for each person, that would D2L would not be the best option for that, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the same question comes up often with even Google Classroom. Do we do a class or classroom for the full group of students I'm working with, or do we do individual classes for each student so it's a bit easier to manage their progress because it may be different from each other. So it's always good questions to have. And then the more we talk about that, the more feedback you get from each other, I think the more helpful it will be. So that was a really good question to highlight as well. And again, we do. I think I can see Carrie, who is looking using D2L, is giving you a lot of feedback and tips as well. Also about transferring meta and then combining things into courses, as you were talking about different shells. And there may be some ideas and tips for you as to exchange as well with Corey. I'm not sure if you know each other or not, but just in case.
Yeah, definitely. I will say this too, with Brightspace, it really, what you can access depends on what your institution offers. As you can see ours, we have different tools we're able to access than Niagara Catholic School Board. So it's limited. You do not necessarily get it. And there's a lot of great online tutorials about Brightspace. So
yeah,
if anybody has questions, please let Stephanie and I know.
Yeah, and then I think you both, Tina, and you mentioned some of the time it took to actually get access to it, even within the system, because of the work with the tech department. We know of other programs that are taking time before they're able to be set up. For smaller organizations, the cost is really unaffordable, but I know school boards and colleges are using it quite a bit, so it's good to know who is using it and how they're using it. So I hope this was helpful. We are a bit over, but I just wanted to thank all of you for amazing time, all the resources you have shared, the time you spent with us learning and asking questions and providing feedback in the chat. We did put a link to our feedback form just to make sure that you let us know how it went and if it was helpful. I can still see some of the participants are putting in a lot of tips and even their own emails to be contacted. So we will share a lot of that information as well as a follow-up with you through emails. Recording and slides will be available within the next few days, so you will have access to that. And I just really want to mention one more time that we do have upcoming events. So one of the ones that I mentioned was the PD training, which is create an online learning site. So it kind of goes back to Google Sites we were discussing. And if that's something you want to explore, Tracy and Guylaine and our team will be working with you. It's 3 workshops that will be happening in October. Another virtual showcase coming up, which is the AI in LBS. We did AI last year in October, and we are coming back a year later, trying to see who is doing what, how things are being used, what we are learning and how it's really used in the literacy community by instructors. So Lisa will be there. Ryan, who was also with us today, will be another presenter next month. And if you want to present or if you want to share some of the stuff you do with AI, let me know. I will be happy to connect with you. And then finally, lunch and learn. So, we do 30-minute sessions once a month or so. There'll be 3 more coming up, but the next one is on November 4th, and that's Microsoft 365. So again, thank you so much. I know some of you have to go and some of you already left, but I'm going to stop the recording. And if you have any additional questions, we can stay a few more minutes. I also want to thank Rebecca for doing all this with us for an hour and a half. Rebecca, you are amazing. Thank you so much for the interpretation services.